Hey, this is Aaron Leigh from Y&T, and you're watching Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
Hey, everybody, welcome to Tim's Vinyl Confessions. I'm Tim Durling, and I am beyond thrilled to welcome my guest here. This is the conclusion of our Y&T Deep Dive series, so why not talk to a member of the band? Ladies and gentlemen, Y&T bassist Aaron Leigh. Hello, sir.
Hello, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Aaron, thanks for taking a little time out to talk to me, and I thought this would be a fun way to wrap up this series. We've gone through the entire catalog, but I think here, what we'll do is we'll talk about some music that you yourself have put out. This little EP here called Keep My Dreams Alive, which I've got a nice autographed copy there. Thank you very much.
And thank you.
So these are some songs that you've had around for a couple of years. Walk me through the process of the music on here, Aaron.
Well, there's some music on there that was written prior, like a few years back, and just found the time to actually properly record it and get it produced and, up to snuff to release and just basically finish off. And then there's a few tracks on there that were pretty current. So, within the last year or two tops. But that's the EP thing is kind of a compilation of a few singles that I'd put out and then some new music behind it. So I just compiled it just to get it on a physical product so I could sell it at Y&T gigs or, my own gigs and on my website, aaronleigh.com. But that was the intention behind releasing a physical copy of the EP.
Yeah, I'm really old school that way. I prefer physical product. So I was keeping an eye on things because I know you were putting out the singles, but when you put the CD out, I'm like, all right, I'm in. I'll get the
Cool.
CD.
Appreciate
Um,
it.
and you've got some really cool guests on here. The title song from the CP, "Keep My Dreams Alive." You got the master Joel Hoekstra of Night Ranger, Whitesnake, Trans Siberian Orchestra. I think now he's with Accept, or he's playing dates with Accept. Do you and Joel go way back? How did he end up on this?
Well, I met Joel on the Monsters of Rock cruise, which somehow I'm wearing the t-shirt today
Yeah,
from the
yeah.
last cruise we just did here. But I met him when I was in Frank Hannon's solo band, and it was the first time I'd ever been on the Monsters of Rock cruise back in, I think it was 2013. And we were doing a jam. Frank was hosting an all-star jam in one of the lounges one night. So I was, the back part of the backing band. Joel came up, he played. I hadn't met him, didn't know who he was. And he finishes up playing and we're continuing on. We've got, other guys coming up and we're playing a song, and all of a sudden, this is how I met Joel Hoekstra. And he all of a sudden I feel this arm wrap around my neck. And all I see is blonde hair going like this, and he's head banging and he's grabbing me around my neck, and then he's kidney punching me at the same time as I'm playing. Okay. So if you can just try to visualize that, it's almost like being attacked on stage, but he was being friendly about it. But he was very drunk at the time. This is
Yeah.
before he quit drinking. So that's how I met Joel, was him kidney punching me on stage. It's kind of funny. But so I reached out to Joel to play on this song because I knew that technically Joel can play anything.
Yeah.
And I was just curious what his take would be at taking a stab at a solo in this environment of music. It was a little orchestrated, and it's a nice some drop-in solo spots. It's not just one guitar solo in the song. There's actual, I think there's 3 spots where he's playing. He's, in the beginning, middle, and end of the song, he's really going too. But I knew that he would be someone that it would be interesting enough to hear his stab at the song. And so I sent it to him. He immediately turned it right back around to me with a solo on it, and we didn't change anything. Everything that you hear is the first thing that he had sent me back, and I was like, wow, that's it. We're done. So that's how that happened.
And I mean, you mentioned being in Frank Hannon's band, and Frank appears on Right the Wrong. I mean, I've been a Tesla fan from almost
Actually,
the
you
first.
know what? Let me correct you on that real quick. That's a misprint on the
Oh,
cover.
okay. Okay.
That was a mistake I had made, and unfortunately, I didn't want to go back and have to resubmit all the artwork, so I just
Right,
rolled with
right.
it, man. Most people don't read the credits, and you did, so I have to at least.
I'm notorious for reading credits.
And me too, which that's how I caught it later, but how unprofessional of me not to catch it before it went to print. So um, he plays on Live for Today. So the solo you hear on Live for Today is Frank
Okay.
Hannon.
Well, yeah, you know, if you wanted to, you'd say, no, it's right underneath featuring
Well,
Frank.
true. And that's the way I
It's
did,
not like it's,
salvage it in my
it's
head.
completely out of order, right?
Right.
Yeah. Um, so okay, so that's how, because I'm really like, talk me through this. So you're in Frank's band, um, and that would have been 2013. So you weren't in Y&T at this point, obviously. That
No,
they
no,
had
no.
Brad.
I had no idea about any sort of Y&T thing going on.
Wow. So were you a fan like prior to joining?
Yeah. Well, I've been a Y&T fan since I was 15 years old. And, Y&T came out when I was 5 years old. So that music, that band has been in my life for most of my life. And it played a huge part in me wanting to play music in the first place. Once I discovered Y&T, then I was discovering Iron Maiden and Rush and all these, all the great classics we know today. But Y&T always stuck out to me as kind of more like a musician's hard rock band. And because there was some technicality going on in the music, and also that the way that the early mixes were, you could really hear Phil's bass cutting through the
Yeah.
mixes.
Yeah.
Later on down the line, the bass started getting a little more in the late 80s, it was getting a little more like thinned out for some reason.
That was
But
a trend in general, I think, in production. Bass tended to get buried.
yeah, and I didn't like it. So, but early, those early records, when you can hear the bass cutting through, at that time, I was leaning into playing bass as my main instrument. So that played a big part in me learning those songs on bass when I was a kid. So when I finally had the opportunity to play with the band before I joined, my big audition, uh, I already knew these songs in my head.
Yeah.
It was like ingrained in me. So, I go so far back and such a huge fan of Y&T. Yeah, it's crazy.
So you're a Bay Area guy?
Yeah, I'm from San Jose,
Okay.
California.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I mean, like, like I'm up here in Eastern Canada, and Y&T are one of those bands. I caught a video, Don't Be Afraid of the Dark. I got into the band like big time. And from then on, I've been trying to tell people, like, hey, if you like this band, if you like that band, give Y&T a chance. And
Hmm.
they just never, they're always one of those bands that I would always have to, I'd be listing bands that I loved, and people would say, wait, what? Who? And that's, well, I mean, shameless plug. That's one of the reasons I did this. It's like,
Hmm.
this is crazy. I got to get the word out here. So you came in from the very first album, Yesterday and Today, or like, when did you?
No, I came into Black Tiger, and
Okay.
it was strictly based off of when I first saw the record cover, because that's
Oh yeah.
back then, that's a lot of times how you would judge if you want to hear something. It's just by looking at the artwork on the album covers. So I just thought that was so cool, and then I put on the music, and I was just blown away. So I was an instant fan. But when I saw them at the Cow Palace in must have been like '83, it was my 15th birthday. It was New Year's Eve at the Cow Palace in San Francisco. I saw Dio was headlining, and then Y&T in the middle, and Dokken opening, and it was
Oh,
on
cool.
Dokken's first record. And
Nice.
the EP, I guess, with Paris is Burning and all that.
Yeah, yeah.
But I could go down the rabbit hole with the Dokken thing too, because they blew me away. But
Oh yeah.
when Y&T came on, that was it, man. It was like this was just made my whole life, seeing this band live, because it was the first time I saw them live. I'd already been familiar with the music, so yeah, I was all in at that point. And I got to say, I love Dio, but Y&T took the night that night.
I've heard that from a lot of different sources that Y&T would be opening, or they excuse me, be the special guest, and they're a tough act to follow
Hmm.
because just been playing for such a long time, tight band. And yeah, you bring up a good point. I mean, people never talk about the band enough in general, in my opinion, but people never talk about Phil as a great bass player. I mean, and he seemed like the type of guy that was very self-deprecating, but he came up with some really smart bass parts uh, that interwove in between the two guitars. What are some of your favorite Phil Kennemore bass parts, like songs to play of his?
Well, just going right back to Black Tiger, the song Black Tiger, there's some great bass playing in that. It's a lot of fun to play. Open Fire Forever, pretty much, I mean, from album one all the way through, man. I mean, I can't go and pick, certain songs right now because there's just so many of them. As the catalog is just massive. And I always say to people, there's not a bad Y&T song. There really isn't.
Right. I agree.
I mean, to be honest, Down for the Count was my least favorite record. And to me, there's a lot of stuff on there that was, kind of filler stuff, but it was still good. It was like, you still can't get around the fact that it was good.
Like, and we talked, John and I talked about John the Music Nut, and I talked about that in our deep dive and said, we're not slamming the band. We love the band. It's just that there's stuff on Down for the Count, like, covering Your Mama Don't Dance and stuff like that, we know that there's better stuff because we've heard the Unearthed albums and stuff like that. And you're absolutely right. And I think Down for the Count's probably the worst culprit for Where's the Bass? You can't hear the bass.
Yeah.
But that wasn't unique. I mean, because a lot of Tom Werman's productions are a little bass anemic, like Tooth and Nail. You mentioned Doc, and you can't hear the bass very well on that album. So it just wasn't in the forefront. And but yeah, Phil always seemed to come up with the right bass lines for the right part. And he would do things that other bass players didn't, like Lipstick and Leather. He does that little solo before the guitar solo. I mean, that's not something that happened all that much.
Well, Barroom Boogie is a perfect example.
That sounds like I believe we have Mr. Nyman on the line here.
Hold on a second. I told you he's always late, man.
Hold that thought. Barroom Boogie sounds like a tune that would keep you busy live.
Oh yeah.
All that
it's the one that I dread, honestly. It's the one that I dread playing, only because if I haven't been playing bass for a while, if we're in between playing, and those blisters, man, from just that song alone, I'm telling all these bass players right now, try to play Barroom Boogie and not have any real calluses. It's murder.
Yeah. And it never lets up.
No, yeah, it's a constant.
That's through the whole song. It's not like, I'll get a break here. No, there's no break.
Yep. There he is.
I'm right here, man.
Hey, John.
I had to wait till 4:20 because, I had to be in the mood.
There you go. How are you, man?
I'm okay.
Thank you for doing this. Ladies and gentlemen, John Nyman has joined us. This was we planned this all along to have the extra surprise. But yes, not one, but two members of Y&T on this very special conclusion to our deep dive show. Mr. John Nyman joining Aaron Leigh and I. Thank you so much for doing this, John. This is so awesome. I'm doing my best not to fanboy out. I got to be honest, man. I've been a Y&T fan since 1990, and this is very cool. So Aaron and I were talking about Phil Kennemore and his some of his busy bass lines and how unique they were within hard rock. Like you were affiliated with the band from so far back. What songs did you think really showcased Phil as a bass player, John?
Well, Barroom Boogie, is something.
There you go. We were just talking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it's a very cool, I guess difficult part to play from what Aaron tells me. It's a workout anyway. I'm sorry. But it's like he's always such a melodic, he loved the Beatles, that was both of him and I shared that. And a lot of his bass playing was very melodic, in what he did, which I always enjoyed about his playing. He always was traveling around on that thing and going different places, to make it more interesting. But it's so funny. I just came upon this cassette tape that I found of Y&T when I was the background singer. We were in Santa Barbara doing a live recording for like King Biscuit Flower Hour or something like that. They,
had the
mobile truck pulled up outside the theater, set up all the mics, and we're taping for something. And Leonard was nowhere around when they were ready to test the equipment. So I jumped on the drums and we were jamming, playing a blues song, and they were testing the stuff out. And you know, when afterwards, you know, Leonard finally showed up, and I went in and I said, "Did you tape that?" And they go, "Yeah, we recorded." I go, "Can I have a tape of that?" So because I've got me playing drums with Y&T, and I was just noticing, even though we were just playing like a blues progression, Phil was doing all this cool stuff on his bass, you know. And I was just listening to this just yesterday, and so I'm gonna get it downloaded and put it up on the internet soon.
I was going to say,
Yeah.
that's just the type of thing that the fans would love to hear. So
I mean,
yeah,
me on drums.
that's awesome. Yeah. So
Yeah.
Aaron and I, we were talking about Aaron's release, keep my dream, keep my dreams alive. So Aaron, refresh me, like, I mean, because this doesn't have credits in it. I mean, is this basically a one-man band thing? Are you playing everything on here aside from the aforementioned guitar solos?
Yes, sir.
Wow.
Yes. Yeah, I miss the playing with a band situation, but at the same time, I really enjoyed is just getting into my own trip and, you know, changing my mind quite a bit as the process unfolds, you know. And I know that could drive other people crazy when you're constantly changing your mind, you know, because people grow attached to certain things, certain parts, and when you're writing together, things like that. But yeah, so you know, I basically, for the most part, just work by myself, and then when comes time to do some solo embellishments, I mean, there's songs on you know that I've done that I play the guitar leads and all that, but then like the Joel Hoekstra spot, it was like I knew I wanted Joel to play on that song, so it hit me, and like I already knew that was where it was going to go. And then same with the Frank spot, you know, but that was more of Frank pretty much offering up, saying, "Hey, let me put a solo on this one, man." So, you know, of course I'm going to say yes, and he always delivered. So, you know, but yeah, I enjoy the working by myself thing right now. Unless, you know, me and John, Dave, and Mike get in a room, that would be pretty awesome.
I'm gonna ask you about that at the end because I've heard some things, but yeah, and the last track on here is really cool. I mean, lots of people do cover songs, but you picked not an obvious one, which I think is cool. You did T-Rex song "Children of the Revolution." Why that song?
Because I like it. And it just, some songs, you know, when you're re-recording someone else's music, if it hits you just in the right spot and you feel like you can do the song justice, that's the one you roll with. And that's kind of where that came from. A lot of this comes from boredom as well, just trying to kill time and keep creative, you know, just to keep myself occupied. So, you know, that was one of those songs that I was just kind of in between writing. You know, I didn't really have anything going on with my own music, so I was like, but I want to record. So I just chose that song just to get down with, and you know, it came out great, I thought. So why not put it
Yeah,
out?
it did.
And it fits the rest of the songs. It's not completely out of place sounding. So yeah, you really put your own stamp on it because I knew it was a T-Rex song. I'm trying to think. Someone did that song in the 80s too.
Well,
Um,
Scorpions did a version of it, and I think they
I'm
might have done
thinking
that.
I'm
Like,
thinking more alternative, like 80s alternative. Like I want to say Violent Femmes.
could have been, or Susie and the Banshees.
Somebody like that did Children of the Revolution, which I think is the first way I heard it. I caught a video, but yeah, when I saw the title, I'm like, I wonder if that's, and then I kept reading, written by Mark Bolan. Yes, that's T-Rex. So yeah, it's good stuff. And man, like, you know, I gotta say, great job on the vocals. I mean,
Thank you.
it's good sounding. Like it's just good sounding, you know, rock. And you do, so Aaron, you do a lot of acoustic shows, right? What have you got coming? Like I've seen you post many times. Like, what is that experience like for you?
Well, I just played 2 in a row. Played last night, night before. I'm always playing locally here. If I'm not playing with Y&T, I'm usually out playing around here locally. I just have fun with playing the covers that I do with, you know, I play a 12-string acoustic. It's just me up there. I bring a bit of a little event performance element to it with some lighting and some visuals and things. And it seems that people dig it, so I just keep doing it. That's pretty much it. You know, I have a good time trying to rework some of these classic songs that we've heard our whole life, you know, into, you know, being able to just play it acoustically with no accompaniment And,
Right.
so I'll roll about, up to about 3 hours straight of just playing in a night. And it's challenging, but it keeps your chops up, keeps the voice up,
So John, you actually were first out with a solo album. This has been out for, I think, 3 years now. It's got a copyright date of 2021 on it.
Yeah.
Made in America. First thing I want to ask, tell me about this album cover.
Well, I was at an art show, just tripping around, and I saw that painting, and it just took me in. I don't know, something about it, and I go, man, that would be an awesome album cover. I'm growing up in the 70s, and most of the stuff I grew up in buying was, like the Moody Blues. They always had a painting, or Yes, or
Right, yeah.
Keep, they would use an artist, or even Journey, later on, they would use an artist to do some cool artwork. And so I wanted to follow that thing that my whole thing with my solo album is I want to do stuff that I loved and grew up with. And so I wanted my cover to be special in that way. And so I contacted the artist and asked him if I could use it for the cover. And he said no, right off the bat, So I was like, tried to, tell him, look, I'm a professional musician. I've been doing this for a long time. And I'm not just some, punk rocker. He didn't know me at all,
Right.
And so when I finally dropped the Y&T bombshell, I just figured, you know what, I might as well try. And he goes, oh, Y&T, I love Y&T. And I go, well, I'm in Y&T. And so this is my solo album. So then he said, well, I still want to hear your music. I want to know what I'm tying my art to. So I had a meeting with him, and then after he said, yes, that's fine. And we came upon a price and stuff. I said I wanted him to make some changes in the painting. He didn't like that idea at all, of course, but he heard me out on it, and we brought it up on the computer, and I wanted him to put all my song titles in the painting, all the signs, to just be that more trippy for people to trip on. And a lot of people don't even notice, but it was just, like I said, it was what I wanted to do. And he went along with it, and I got it done with the way I wanted it.
It really begs for me to have this on vinyl, because you can't see everything on the CD. I do see happy written on this sign there. So
I push people to get the vinyl just for that reason. I go, just for the cover alone, And I've had some people at the merch booth of Y&T, when they picked it up, they go, I just want that cover. $20.
It's really cool. It stands out. And you're right. It does have, you mentioned Moody Blues. Yeah, it's the smoke, it's the swirling. It does remind me of some of their album covers, for sure. It's very 70s in a cool way. And you get the busy street there, and
there's a lot to look at.
Hidden stuff in the cover. So for those of you that are watching that are Y&T fans that haven't heard either Aaron's or John's solo stuff, Aaron's is pretty straightforward rock, I would call it. Like I said, it's got Joel Hoekstra, Frank Hannon on track each. John's, on the other hand, yours is all over the place. You've got a little bit of everything on here. You got some 50s sounding rock, you got some acoustic stuff, you got some almost countryish sounding stuff. Like, this is obviously music that's been in, were these songs that you've had written or co-written for quite a long time, and you just put them together, or was this a writing session and you just came out with these 10 songs, or how did this where did the genesis of this come from?
The oldest song on there is Pray. I wrote that in the 90s, kind of for my mom, at my parents' house on my dad's nylon string acoustic guitar, and I just was thinking of her, and it just sat around forever, and it wasn't even a contender on the record until I brought it out one day when I was showing other songs to Troy Luccketta from Tesla, who produced it and played drums on it. And he just goes, oh, we definitely should entertain putting this on. And so we, it ended up doing that. But other than that, when I was writing for Face Melter, some of those songs that ended up on my record, like The Truth was written at that time, and some I Fall in Love was written at that time, but they just weren't songs that fit with the Y&T thing, And so that's a a lot of them were written pretty close to the time before I went to record them.
And that's the cool thing. You brought that up, and I was going to mention that too. There's a Tesla connection with both of your albums, because Frank Hannon is on Aaron's, and of course Aaron was in Frank's band. I'm a huge Tesla fan. I've been into them since, I think I got into them when Great Radio Controversy first came out, the second record. I've been a fan ever since. And so I got to say, like, you know, my feeling is, if you're going to do a solo project, a solo album, you might as well do something different. And these are both really, really good releases, but neither of them particularly sound like Y&T, which I think is the whole point of why would you just do a carbon copy of the band that you're in? So it's really cool to see another side of both of your musical personalities. And I'm sure this probably comes up a lot, but I got to tell you, my favorite song on the album, John, is "Fly Angel Fly." I mean, that again was written in 1988,
and it was recorded in 1988. And I'm so glad they were able to mix it in a way that it still fit with the record, you know, because it doesn't sound like an old recording. And man, talk about a who's who of Bay Area rock. I mean, the fact you got Leonard and Phil on there, that is so awesome. So were they on there from the 88 recording? Is that what? Yeah. Is that how? What happened? The song was written for a friend of ours who was a rock and roll photographer in the Bay Area named Randy Bachman.
Yes.
He was very good friends with me and the band. I was in Mile High when we were teenagers, just starting out, and was instrumental on getting our band heard by Herbie Herbert, of Journey's manager, and subsequently moved on to get Eric Martin in that band and Troy Luccketta, and we did an album, Sucker for a Pretty Face, and had all that Journey connection, all because of him. He was the one who said, "You got to come hear my buddy's band. They are so badass." And Herbie did. He came to Hayward, sat on the couch in our studio and listened to us, and away we went. We got involved with them. But anyway, moving on, when Randy Bachman was in San Francisco one night taking a photograph, and he was backing into the street, he got hit by a car and killed instantly. And it was something to do. He was Jewish, and because of that, he, at that time and when it happened, if he was going to have a funeral, it had to happen immediately, like within 5 days, because the Jewish holiday or something was coming up and they couldn't do it. So it was a pretty fast situation. And because he was so tied to the music community, his father, actually, Phil was really good friends with his family, and he called Phil up and he said, "Hey, do you think you or someone could sing at his funeral or do something for him?" Because he loved music so much. And Phil called me up and said, "John, I know you could do something like that, play acoustic guitar and sing." And, I said, "Of course I would," and I was just going to do a Beatles song, or, I didn't know. It was just a few days away. But I had been working on a song called "Fly Angel Fly" that was based on, I have a niece named Angel, and she was turning 18 and she was flying the coop, is kind of what my premise was. But as soon as this came up, I thought, you know what? I think I could take this song and turn it into something to dedicate to him. And I wrote the lyrics, and it was like one of those songs you just write in 5 minutes, and sang it at his funeral. And all these people in the music business were there. And it was Greg Kinn's manager who came up to me and goes, "Man, we got to do something with this song. Let's do like a We Are the World type thing, get a bunch of Bay Area musicians and dedication to him." And I said, "Sure, make it happen." And he did. And he got a hold of everybody, whoever was in town. Eddie Money was in town. Greg Kinn was in town. Brad Gillis, Leonard Hayes, and Phil. Of course, I already had that connection for them. And they said, sure, they would come in and do it. Why Dave didn't come, I don't know. I just don't remember, because it was whoever wasn't busy that day was kind of.
It had to be done. Yeah.
We did it in one day. We recorded it and then mixed it the next. So it was a slam bam thing. And I'm so proud of how it turned out in such a rushed order, from an acoustic guitar, me by myself song, to a rock tune.
It doesn't sound it, John. It sounds fully realized. And the first time, when I first put the CD on, I was typing something. I was doing something. I listened to it once, and then I listened to it, really pay attention with the read the liner notes, get the lyrics out. So the first time I'm typing along, and that second verse of "Fly Angel Fly" come on, I go, that's Eddie Money. Like that just right away, I was like, wow, you pick that voice out anywhere. Greg Raleigh's on it. Danny Chauncey from 38 Special. I mean, yeah, it's a really really cool track.
And
I see Aaron has
Leonard,
got a co-host. Aaron, tell us about your co-host here, Aaron.
Oh, this is Rolo.
Rolo.
This is my cat. This is one of my cats, Rolo. Rocco's in the other room. He's the boy. This is the girl.
Nice. Yeah, we got a house full. We got 2 cats and 2 dogs. And then, you know, for Y&T fans, if you at this point, if you need a little extra bait, well, the closing track, Paradise. Let me read to you the first 4 musicians listed on this track: John Nyman, Mike Vanderhule, Aaron Leigh, Dave Menichetti. This is a Y&T song disguised as a John Nyman song. This is like when Sammy Hagar did the Marching to Mars album, and he had the original Montrose band on one track. It's like a band track within the solo album. Yeah, it's really cool, and you know, the packaging's really cool. Like, you can tell that you put a lot of work into it. Even I like the CD itself, how it looks.
yeah, it was just a photo taken with a cell phone, actually, is how, and I had a professional photographer taking all these pictures and then did one test shot with a cell phone. And for some reason, that shot just turned out good. And even though it was blurry, that's how it ended up like looking like a painting. We just did some effect on it because, I don't know, it's some vibe about it. And with the flag and the Made in America, it just worked.
Yeah. So this back cover, is this in your basement? Is that your basement bar? Or tell us about that.
That is my garage where I wrote all those songs, most of them. And we rehearsed in there with Troy Luccketta and then Eric Westfall, the bass player, who helped write some of the songs too.
Yeah.
When Troy was sitting there, he goes, dude, you got to put this on the album cover. This place is wild in here. You got all this stuff going on. And I said, yeah, you know, I should. And so that's how that happened. It was Troy's idea to take a picture in there. And I had a girl, she was a hairdresser down the street who liked to dress up. And I said, hey, can you dress up like a 50s pinup girl? And I just kind of throw you in there just as some maddening craziness, you know, of John Nyman.
So is there a pole in your garage, or was that a prop?
Yeah, I know. It almost looks like a stripper pole, but actually I put that in my garage. There's a ladder, wood ladder behind it. And my son, you know, I built it for him so he could slide down the pole like a fireman. It was just a fun room. It was a playroom. I have a full-size slot car track in there, and the drums are all on the other side of the room from where that picture was, and equipment. So it was a pretty cool place. A two-car garage all decked out with just a bunch of, it looked like a circus tent or something. I don't know. Just everything I had I just threw it on the wall, you know.
It looks like a place to hang out for sure. And so folks, if you haven't seen it yet, I've recommended this since it came out. On with the show, the documentary, The Story of Y&T. Both of these gentlemen feature prominently in it, how they ended up in the band. I mean, John, your history goes so far back with Y&T. I understand that you used to ride your bike to go see them. See them rehearse? Did I get that right?
Yeah. Well, actually, it was my unicycle, but I went to high school with Leonard Hayes. I knew Leonard since he was 12, but we didn't go to the same elementary school. But I went to school with his guitar player of the band, the Mustangs, and he taught me some guitar. And so Leonard and I knew each other a little bit, but we really got to know each other in high school. And that's where I first was introduced to Dave Menichetti, when Leonard brought him to school to jam after school one day. And I was just like blown away, you know, seeing Leonard now playing a big giant kit and not a little kid anymore, and had that Bonham thing going on, and Menichetti was just tearing it up and singing. And I was like 16 and then they were 18, and I was just, it really inspired me. It made me go, man, I'm going to go practice my guitar, because if these guys are that good at 18, maybe I could be that good too. Or, you know, it really inspired me. And Dave and I became good friends that day, and found out he lived a few blocks from me, and I'd go hang out with them at his house. And this is before Yesterday and Today started. So there was just those two. And then I just was hanging out with them, watching the band develop. And then I had my band Mile High that we used to rehearse in the same place together. And then we'd open up shows to them. So yeah, I was right there with them during all that, their whole history, growing up writing their first songs and watching them practice and just hanging out with them all the time. It was very cool.
It was
My
such
ears
a
got
natural,
blown out.
yeah, it
They
was
would
such a
play full
natural
blast.
fit when I guess you would have stepped in for Steph Burns. Am I right? Is that how that went? It was Steph and Leonard were in the band, and then you came in the early 2000s.
As the guitar player, I came in
Yeah,
2003.
yeah,
It was, what happened was, when they were asked to put the band together, they wanted Joey Alves. They wanted
right.
the original band. Joey just couldn't do it. He wasn't healthy enough to travel, and he just bowed out and said, I can't. So Steph said, hey, I can do it. I'm not. Steph was in Huey Lewis and the News at that time, but they were on a break. So he says, yeah, I'll go do these shows, these first shows with you in Spain. And when that was their first invite to go play someplace. And when they came back, Dave called me up and said, hey, what would you think about being a Y&T? Of course, I was sure. Heck yeah. When
I've
do I
been
start?
waiting, right?
I'm here, And
Yeah.
so I go, wow, what's going on? I was just shocked. I got the phone call. I go, wow, Dave's calling me. I haven't heard from him in a while. And that was it. He said, Steph, of course, would love to do it, but he can't because Huey Lewis had such a touring schedule to keep up. And so I got the job.
Awesome.
And all on the condition for Phil Kennemore that I'd grow my hair long, because I had
Nice.
short hair when I joined.
Okay.
In fact, I just found the 8x10 of when I first joined the band of us, and I have short hair, and I'm going to put that up on the internet. I've been finding a bunch of stuff laying around lately.
Cool. Yeah, now the fans eat that stuff right up. As far as I know, so far, the only thing that you guys have both been on with the band is the acoustic EP. Which, by the way, I have to ask, you called it Volume 1. Does that mean we can expect more?
Well, that's what we're hoping.
Yeah.
I know that me and Aaron are.
But more to the point. I know that you guys played one of the Monsters of Rock cruise, right?
Yeah.
And Dave has made mention of a new Y&T album. Is there anything you could tell me about that without letting the cat out of the bag? If not, that's fine. I'm just, as a fan, it's been 14 years since Space Melter, and can you tell us anything?
Me, Aaron, both?
Either of you.
Well, I actually, I was there when Dave said this when we were on Eddie Trunk's show.
Right.
Eddie asked him the question, of course, and what Dave said was what he said. And of course, Blabbermouth picks it up, and Brave Words and everything else. And now it's, now I even have people coming to my solo gigs and going, so you guys going to make a new record? And I was like, I don't know, but
well,
hey, you know what? If the man says that it's in the cards, then I want to believe him. And I think that it would be pretty incredible, honestly. And the music that I write solo, you're right, it's not in alignment with so like what a Y&T would do. But I've been saving the heavier riffs for Y&T writing sessions, just so you know.
Awesome.
And me too. I've got a pocket full too.
Well, the way that I was, a buddy of mine, a friend of mine that helped me out with the book a lot, messaged me, when that came, like I'm, in my circle of friends, I'm the Y&T guy, anytime there's any mention, Blabbermouth or whatever, I get sent the link. Did you see this? Did you know this? And so he sent me that, and I said, I got to tell you, man, I would love to have a really good reason to have to go back and edit this and add a chapter to it. I would love to do that. So guys, this has been so awesome. Thank you so much for doing this. Folks, go get yourself John's Made in America. John Nyman, Made in America. Aaron Leigh, Keep My Dreams Alive. Where is the easiest place for folks to get your music? I had to do a little looking around.
Personally, here, you can go to aaronleigh.com, and I have my store on there, and you can order from there. All my stuff is up there. And I'd like to also mention before we jump off is I do have another single coming out on April 19th.
Oh, yes, that's right. I forgot to mention that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, I did do a collaboration with an old friend of mine, this guy, Dave Friday. We grew up together, known each other since we were like 16 years old. and we've written a handful of songs over the decades together. And this is going to be one of them that we did. I think it was the last one we wrote together, and I'm looking forward to getting that out there and letting people check it out. And it's called Wait. So wait until April 19th and then check it out.
Awesome. And John, Made in America, where do folks get that?
Well, I'm trying to think of what it was right now. If it's my name, John Nyman at Bandcamp or something. I'm sorry.
Yes, I think that's right.
Yeah. And so that'll take you directly to my album, but you can also go to iacrecords.com. That's the record company. And it'll show all their records, but mine's prominently displayed up front, so you should be able to find me no problem and punch on it. But I know the other link, I think that the Bandcamp, John Nyman band at Bandcamp, I think.
No, I got it right here. It's johnnyman.bandcamp.com.
Okay. And that goes directly to it, and boom, you can buy it, vinyl or CD.
And that is how, when I got the CD, it comes with an IAC record sampler that's got some other artists on it, and it's got one of your tunes on it.
Oh, that's I've seen that sampler that he sends out. Yeah,
that comes with it. So, and of course, for all things Y&T, it is YANDT Rocks, YANTRocks.com. Check the tour dates out. These guys never come anywhere close to Eastern Canada, but if you're in the area where they're playing, go catch them. I know you're doing the M3 Festival this year in it's escaping
Maryland.
Maryland, yes. I'll tell you, man, if I could get there, I would, because you're playing there and Night Ranger are playing there, and they're both two of my favorite bands right there. So there you go. Guys, thank you for doing this. To have half of Y&T on my little show is an absolute thrill for a big fan like me. So thank you so much for doing this. And folks, go out there, support John's music and Aaron's music, and of course, support Y&T. And guys, thank you for being on Tim's Vinyl Confessions.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, Tim.
We'll see you later.
Tim. Goodbye.